let's talk about Invincible because we've got
Oh
a
yeah.
lot
Oh
to
yeah.
say.
I have admittedly, honestly, this could have been our topic for this week, to be honest
Oh,
with you, because I have so many thoughts about Invincible. We're both caught up. We've both seen
yes.
up till the most recent episode, which aired
Season 3,
Wednesdays or Thursdays, I
Thursday.
think. Yeah,
Season 3,
Thursdays.
episode 7 is what it should be.
Yes. 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 So, do you want to start off since this is technically still you talking about what you've been watching, and then I'll just
Yeah,
again I
yeah.
have so many thoughts, but I'll let you start.
I'll dive into this. So I had a friend text me. I did not watch this last week's episode yet. I hadn't watched it. Sorry, let me back it up. Yesterday I hadn't watched it yet, and I'm driving to go do something really quickly, and my friend texts me, "Hey, did you watch this episode this week?" And I go, "No, not yet. I'm about to when I get to the place I'm going to." And he goes, "It's peak. You're not mentally prepared." And I go, "What the frick? Don't text me that." Because now I'm going to be expecting, like, what if I'm disappointed? What if this genuinely isn't that
Yeah,
great?
yeah,
And
yeah. No, I get
then
it. It's setting expectations too high can definitely hurt something. Which again, we can talk about with Marvel. Like it's yeah, expect don't set your expectations too high. I get it.
5 minutes into the episode, I was hooked. This had to have been the most gut-wrenching episode. I think the only one that rivals it is Omni-Man versus Invincible, the season 1
Yeah.
finale episode. I mean, first off, I did not
Well,
expect
and
this to be now. I expected all of the various dimensioned Invincibles to be the finale of this show. So that, like, if this
honestly,
is where
yeah,
this
that
is
makes
now,
sense.
like, if this is where this is now, I'm really curious to see how they end this season. But they
Well, and I think we kind of got a hint with that, with the way that this episode ended, which I
yeah.
think we should talk a little bit about non-spoiler, kind of like what we're doing, and then we'll give a
Yeah,
spoiler warning, and then we need to talk about spoilers for Invincible, especially since we
For
both
yeah,
watched it, and
yeah.
most of my thoughts have to do with spoilers, but one thing that I will say, and this is like a pseudo-spoiler, but not really, just to chime in, one
Mm,
thing that you had mentioned is about, like, the last time we felt like this with an episode is the
mm,
Omni-Man episode, like back in season
mhm.
1,
Yes.
which isn't it's literally like season or episode 1, right? Is the Omni-Man episode? Like we just start out with that. Or is
I
it
was
is it
referring
not episode 1 of Invincible?
I was referring to the finale of season 1 with Omni-Man versus
Oh,
Invincible.
no, you're right, you're right. So you're talking about the okay, yeah, no.
Mm,
Yeah, no, you're right. Because that's what my point was. The stakes with this episode are astronomically higher. And like
yes.
you think, how can you raise the stakes and the devastation when you already had a gut-wrenching fight between
Uh,
Invincible and his dad? And I will say, I don't think it hits the same emotional beats necessary. I
no.
mean, there's one thing, and we'll talk about that. You probably know what I'm
Yes.
talking about, where
I know
you do
exactly
hit
what
that
you're talking about.
emotional beat, but
Mhm.
but it's not as much, but the stakes are so much higher, so you still feel the weight of what's happening. And that's one of the things I
Yes.
love about Invincible is you feel the weight of what's happening every
Yes.
single action that's taken. It's not like in a Marvel movie when and I know I keep bringing up Marvel. I love Marvel. We'll talk about how much I love Marvel later, but I'm not trying to shit on them. But when aliens come down from space and they destroy New York, they destroy New York, you move on, life moves on. You never see it.
Yeah.
I mean, the most you see is the Sokovia Accords and what happens with Civil War. You don't
Yes. Yeah,
really
yeah, yeah.
feel the repercussions in this, dude. Again,
I
I'll try
I
not to
yeah.
spoil it, and we can talk about spoilers in a minute. But dude,
I had a thought about that because I as I was driving over here to do the podcast, I had an actual thought about really the entirety of season 3 that kind of pertains to that. Um, so we'll get into that later. But no, like the catastrophic level that this episode
yeah,
leaves, like it is bad. And you see all of these people get affected by because of a choice that Mark basically made. Um, which
yeah.
I guess honestly, let's get into spoilers
I was
now.
gonna say, let's
Spoiler
just put the
warning.
spoiler tag on. We've
We
watched
should
the
have probably done that
episode,
at the
watch
beginning.
Invincible.
Oh
If you
man.
haven't, skip. I don't know how long. I guess. But
Yes.
yeah, guess.
Spoiler warnings for
um,
Invincible.
yeah. Spoiler warnings for Invincible.
but so many people die.
Dude,
And
hundreds of thousands.
so
And they said the number could be higher. They didn't even finish counting the death count. And they
so
already
many
said hundreds of
heroes.
thousands, and they said it could be 500. Yeah, heroes died, people died. I mean, you see that one scene, and I know this is towards the end, but it's like right at the end before what's his name? The other the guy with the gauntlet when I can't remember what his name is. But we've seen him
That's
before. We've seen him once
Thanos.
before. Yeah, we see Thanos. No, but when he comes down right before that scene, Mark is he's helping with the cleanup and he's looking at the devastation, and the shot is so expertly like. I have a lot of problems with the animation in the season. We can talk about that. We cannot talk about that. I don't want to hate
Yeah.
on I don't like being a hater. But I do have some problems with this. But the framing of that shot with you see a severed head of a lady and then Invincible being crushed by the actions of what had happened there. It was just so
Yeah.
you feel the weight in that moment.
Yeah. No,
It's not
that
just the
that was the
heroes, it's
moment
the
I cried.
people.
That was definitely the moment where I like lost it and cried, was that shot specifically, because I was like, good God, like that's just messed up. And going back to what I was saying about how the overarching thing of the season pertains to this, last week we got a wonderful episode with Breaking Bad actor Aaron Paul, which Breaking Bad being
Yep.
my favorite show of all time. I love that they included him in this show. And I freaking love Aaron Paul's performance in it. I thought he was so well done. But we had mentioned when we were talking to each other about that episode specifically, about how in a lot of ways, even though he's in a very antagonistic light, Powerplex isn't necessarily wrong. Like Invincible
Yeah.
needs to be held up for the actions
Yeah.
that he's been given. And he
Well,
is
it's
ultimately,
and
at the end of the day, a threat, regardless of if he's fighting somebody who's bad. Like he's going to destroy so much.
yeah.
And this is what I was pertaining to the overarching thing. At the beginning of this season, of season 3, we had the reveal that Cecil has been spying on Mark and that he's been either bringing back to life certain heroes or people who may have been bad guys. He's now kind of like, hey,
I have so many thoughts on that.
come over here. And Cecil basically tells Mark, like, it's to protect all of us from you because of what you did and because of what your dad did. Like, yeah, you may not be your dad, but you very well could easily end up being him. And you are definitely very close to being as strong as him. And the catastrophic level that you
Mhm.
could bring in one fight is incredible. And that leads to the episode of Powerplex, where you see from not the non superhero side, just the people of the world, how they feel about it. And then you get to this episode now, in which there's a massive multiversal Invincible attack, and the catastrophe, the sheer level of damage and hell that this brings for the entire world leaves everybody devastated. And that's why I'm really glad they actually included Powerplex in this episode.
Yeah.
Uh, because he makes the comment of, this is what he does. You know, this is what Invincible is. This is what he's always done. This is the absolute hell storm that he will bring by being here on this planet. Like, he's a threat regardless of if he's good or not. And that honestly is why honest to God, I love season 1. Season 3 might be my favorite season, depending on how they stick the landing. It might be purely for that notion of
Yeah.
the repercussion of everything that came before. Um,
Yeah. Well, and
it's
I think
so
that's
well
something.
done.
Yeah, I think that's something that again, that's why I love Invincible so much. Is again, you feel the weight of the actions of a superhero. I mean, if you had a Superman in real life, it's kind of like what the boys tried to do. And I haven't seen the boys, but I think one thing that has honestly kind of turned me off with the boys is this show is very gruesome, obviously, but it's animated. But the boys, from what I have seen, honestly it feels a little excessive. Maybe it's just because it's reality, but it feels like it plays up the comedy a little bit more in the terms
Yes.
of the gruesomeness.
Yes.
This the gruesomeness is used in a way to portray the gravity of a situation. And I think
Mhm.
one thing that this episode proves is love him or hate him, Cecil's not wrong. And again, the complexity of the characters and the story that they're telling here is so interesting because, and this is another thing I wanted to point out is when you were talking about Powerplex, it is both Invincible's action and inaction
Yeah.
that has consequences. I mean, one of the big things that honestly Invincible really like ticked me off this episode is his Cecil comes in when he's with Eve, with Adam Eve, and it's like, hey, your mom and brother are still out there. There are still Invincibles out there. And he literally screams at Cecil and says, I don't care. He says, that doesn't matter. Well, that's your mom. That's your brother. Yeah, your brother has powers and he can take care of himself, but that's your mom out there. And his inaction leads to, now granted, he's not going to be able to save everyone. And that's one thing that, again, this show does so beautifully is you can save people, but you can't save everyone. But again, he doesn't even try. And again, I'm really frustrated with Mark as a person, but him as a character is just so beautifully written because you have to think about it from his perspective in the sense of there's also someone he loves here that's dying. And now I controversial take. I think he freaked out a little bit too much. It was just a snapped leg. She'll be fine. But again, she was hurt, and it was because of him. And it's because of his actions. And another thing that's so beautiful that we haven't touched on yet is the main villain and the main reason. Obviously, we have all the Marks that are the villain, but the main villain of this is Mark. A big arc of his recent character is grappling with the fact that he killed someone. Turns out he didn't. And that's another thing that we don't really see him deal with, but we kind of do in the sense when he's flying with Adam Eve and he's like, there could only be this one person and I already killed him. And you can kind of see there's like relief and frustration in a way in his character in the sense of like, okay, good, I didn't actually kill someone, but because I didn't kill him, now hundreds of thousands of more people are going to die. Yeah, exactly. And again, that's like you cut to the end scene with Oliver when they're going through the portal and his brother is screaming at him, kill him. He can't, so he can never do this again. You can see Mark was gonna kill him. Like Mark was going to, in front of his brother, rip this dude's head off. And now he doesn't get the chance to, and I'm curious to see where that goes. But Mark was going to kill him. And is that right? Is that wrong? Does this person deserve to live even though they've killed, or at least their actions have led to the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people? And again, it's just, this is not a superhero story. I mean, it is, but it's a story of morality at an insane degree. It's a story of what makes a human told through a not human character in such a unique way.
Well, and that's what I was talking about with some friends a while ago about how, and I think the thing that I love about Invincible, and this more pertains to season 1 specifically, it does pertain to the rest of the show. They tell a very simple story in a very complex way.
Yeah.
Similar to Daredevil in a lot of ways. There's not one line in this show that I feel like is just there because they're filling or padding the runtime. It's intentional.
It's a dense show.
Everything sets up something else. And I really do appreciate the world that Robert Kirkman and visual artist Ryan Otley were just able to come up with and bring. And then the actual showrunners just taking that material and being truthful to that. They could have just told another superhero story, or they, like The Boys, could have leaned heavily into the gratuitous violence and language and I guess technically nudity and whatever. They could have leaned into all of that, but they didn't. They stayed truthful to the source material, and they stayed truthful to the story, allowing for the little moments, the subtle moments of character and richness to build, so that we can then have these big epic moments with Mark against multiple Invincibles and Angstrom. Which you're right, we didn't talk about the villain, but Angstrom's just there because he has a grudge against Mark. Like he was so pissed that he was willing to
it's through
To
Mark's own
yeah.
actions that kind of make him a villain to a degree. I mean, it's not all
Mhm.
Mark's fault, but if you think about it, to a degree, it kind of is. He creates Mark
Yeah.
in a lot of ways creates his own villains, but in an interesting way. Where yeah, there are
Right.
some people who are just evil to be evil. I think one of those examples, and not to cut you off, but like one of those examples is
No,
Doc
no,
Seismic.
please.
Like Doc Seismic
Yep.
he's a hilarious, like just kind of like shoehorned in there. Obviously, we got an episode with him recently that had like huge stakes and captures all the superheroes and things. Like that was an interesting episode, but that's not a really deep character in a way. He's kind of just there. And Mark
Right.
didn't really create Doc Seismic, but a lot of his other villains, it's through Mark's actions and inactions, like with
Yeah.
Powerplex, like with Angstrom Levy. He kind of creates them himself,
Yeah.
or at least perpetuates
Uh,
them.
yeah. And then obviously the big I would say what is the biggest twist of this this episode and this gut punch moment is the death
You're
of
not, yeah,
Rex, which
dude.
I cried
Oh
during
my
that. And
god,
I
dude.
texted a mutual friend of ours afterwards, the same friend who texted me like, dude, it's peak. You're not mentally prepared. And I texted him with, bro, Rex went from the jerk to a hero, and then they took him away from us. I
Well,
knew it was
and
bad for Rex when they started giving him way too much screen time.
I knew. I'll
Oh,
admit, I was still devastated by his death, but they unfortunately they do kind of do that thing that I feel like most stories do. And again, this is based on it isn't just a TV series. Obviously, it's based on a comic book series, and I actually watched a video about the creation of this comic book series. Dude, it's actually super interesting. Um, but yeah, that's one of the things. Like they did that thing that all stories do, where they started front loading. Like, oh, he even has a line where I haven't been this happy in like so long, and that's what I knew. That I knew in my heart of hearts, I was like, Rex, don't say that. Don't say that,
don't say
man.
it, please. They're gonna kill
Don't
you.
say the line.
It's Invincible. They have the balls to kill you. They'll do it.
Exactly. Well, because and that's one of the things that I'm gonna be honest. Like, and again, there is not a character in here that just isn't so beautifully written. In Rex, I hated him in the beginning, and I didn't hate him as a written character. Like he was written beautifully, but he was written to be hated. Like, and that's how you know he's a well-written character. Is you hated him because of his character, not because of the writing. At least for me.
Right.
And it's watching him grow and watching him take more initiative, take more leadership, finally be happy.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna tear up again because it was just such a beautiful ending to his character. Like to a degree, it felt abrupt, but a lot of the deaths feel abrupt, and I feel like it's kind of necessary because that's what's gonna happen. You're not always gonna have this huge build up, and oh my god, they're gonna die immediate, like for for like 15 episodes. But like it was like, oh, he's fighting another Mark replicant, and then boom, he's dead. He blows himself up.
Yeah.
I really hope he took out that Mark. He did. He has to like I hope he did. But yeah, yeah.
Let's talk about that. By the way, that was the coolest way to go out, man. I would like. I knew in some way he had a plan. I knew he was going to do something. He grabs his rib cage and blows himself up. Like that's insane.
And the way that they reveal it, and he's reaching in, and you're kind of like, what's he doing? Like I was watching Real Rejects. They were watching this, and they were talking about like, oh, is he gonna pull something out? Like what's he gonna do?
Yeah,
and then they reveal it in a way where my whole fucking skeleton or something along those lines, and he turns yellow, and that's when it sets in of, oh, he's gonna die. And you're like,
sacrificing
holy
himself.
shit.
Like I think we already knew at that point. Like he stayed behind. He was letting them get away. He was going to die regardless. I don't think we expected him to do that.
No. And
all.
it goes against when we see him in the beginning of the series. And again, that's why I love his character development. And that is something that the original Rex never would have done. He would have been the first motherfucker out of there. Like he would have been gone.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that's again what's so beautiful about his character arc. And God, I mean, they gave him so much screen time. You knew it was coming. It's like it's like The Walking Dead. Like The Walking Dead is so notorious, specifically in its later seasons, But I'll go earlier. This is kind of spoilers for Walking Dead, but you'll forget about it by the time you get there. The character of Merle, who is Daryl Dixon's brother, a massive jerk in the beginning.
I've heard about this.
A massive jerk in the beginning. He's played by the same actor who played Yondu. Massive jerk in the beginning. He actually sides with the villain pretty much the entire third season.
I didn't know Michael Rooker was in The Walking Dead.
Yeah, he's in it. He's Daryl Dixon's brother. He does a good job.
Okay.
He plays a jerk in the first season. He basically plays a jerk he's a jerk the entire time, but he has a soft heart for his brother and he has a soft heart for people. And in the last like 5 episodes of season 3, he's on screen almost the entire time, and you go, "Oh man, Merle's gonna die." You know it's gonna happen. The same thing with there's a character in The Walking Dead called Henry in later seasons, who like you build this whole character arc with him over what is 2 seasons, and he's there for so long. Man, they're gonna kill him at the first chance they get. They're gonna kill him, and that's how I felt here with Jackson. Like they're building it up. They're gonna do it. They're gonna kill him some way. But the thing is, I didn't expect them to do it in the manner that they did. That he sacrificed themselves so the others could get away in just such a really bad ass way. Like blew himself up by blowing up his skeleton. They gave him an ending
worthy of Rex. They really did, and I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
But
that had to have been the gut punch of the episode. Absolutely.